Hello, Mr. Dorset here. To start today's lesson, we're going to practice drawing all five of the different music notes. This will be important later whenever you start creating your own rhythms for me. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. To do this today, you're going to need a white piece of paper, preferably completely blank like this, printer paper. If you do not have that, of course, you can use regular notebook paper. Then you also will need a pencil. That way, if you make a mistake, you can erase it and fix it. Now, I will be using a pen. That way it will show up clearly for you at home. So, once you have those items, continue with the video. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I have my full length of paper right here. And since we're going to be drawing five different notes, you're going to need to number your paper 1 through 5, top to bottom. Watch me do it first. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and do that with your paper. And as we're going throughout this today, you can just pause the video and then hit play again when you're ready to move on and do the next thing. So the first and longest note, if you remember, is a whole note. I'm just going to go ahead and draw that up here at number 1. Now when you draw a whole note, it is just a circle. And I'm drawing mine over a couple of times. That way it shows up really well. See? There's my whole note. You do the same thing. Okay, now if you remember, the whole note is worth 4 beats. So there's the beat. And I'm going to say gray over 4 beats. Listen, here I go. Gray, A. Okay, you do that with me. Ready, go. Gray, A. Very good. Great. And now I want you to label it. So I'm going to write out the words of this type of note underneath it. WHOLE and then space note. NOTE. So you label yours too and write whole note. Okay, so the next note, which is half the length, is a half note. So watch me first as I draw it. I will start with a circle again. And this is called a note head. And then you draw a stem on the side, like that. And it should look like the letter D, okay? Great. And so you go ahead and draw that. Now remember, this half note is worth 2 beats, okay? I'm going to go ahead and perform it first. Here I go. Blue, ooh. You try that. Ready, go. Blue, ooh. Great. Now we're going to go ahead and label it. Watch me as I draw it first. That is a half note. HALF space note. Half note. So you write that down. Very good. Now I'm going to go ahead to the next note. The next note is a quarter note. So we'll draw our note head. We'll draw our music stem on the side. And then this is the important step for a quarter note. You color it in. And you make sure you color it all in. So make sure you're doing that right now. So go ahead and get started if you haven't. Excellent. That's a quarter note. And we use the color red. It's worth 1 beat, like this. Red. You try that. Ready, go. All right. And I'm going to label it underneath it QUARTER and then space note. So you do the same thing. Write that down. Okay, we're going to move on. Now the next note is an eighth note, okay? And an eighth note, if you remember, it has the note head colored in, a music stem, and then it has 1 music flag. However, today, since we are not actually drawing the boxes and the colors, we're going to write, and they're typically grouped together in two. We're going to draw it connected because that's what you do whenever there's no colors, okay? So let me show you how to do that first. So since they're typically grouped in two, I'm going to start off with two circles. So you go ahead and draw two circles, okay? Good. Then go ahead and color those circles in. All right. I've got my first one done. Now I'm going to go and color my second one in. Very good. Okay. Now check this out. I'm going to draw one stem up for that side. Then what I'm going to do is draw another stem up on the other side of the second note, and they're the same length the stems are. Now, right now they look like two quarter notes, and that's what they would be. But this is important. So you remember how we had the one music flag? Well, instead of drawing that, we're going to draw one bar line at the top. You see how, and it connects them. So one flag is the same as one bar line at the top. So you make sure you do that. Connect them two. In an interesting way, it kind of looks like someone's waist, and then it looks like they're 2 legs and 2 feet. Okay. And if you remember, we performed this as, we used the color yellow, and it happens over one beat, like this. Yellow. You try it. Ready, go. All right. Now these are called eighth notes, so I'm going to go ahead and spell that out. Watch me first. Listen. E-I-G-H-T-H. And because there's two of them, there's two, we make it plural. N-O-T-E-S. So you go ahead and write that down. And when you say it, it's 8 notes. It's very important you put the th at the end of that. Okay, I'm going to move on to the last and shortest notes that we know, 16th notes. So pay really close attention to this one, okay? And I'm going to lift this up so I can write it very neatly, okay? All right, so I'm going to draw 4 circles because they're typically grouped together in 4. So I've got my 4. So you do the same, and then you color them in. So let's color in our circles. Got the first one colored in, the second one colored in, the third one colored in, and the fourth one colored in. And make sure they're all the way colored in. You don't want anybody confused with what you have, okay? Now what I do to draw this is, now remember the 16th note by itself has 2 music flags, right? So that what that means is without those actual color blocks, we then, instead of using 2 flags for each of them, we just connect them all with 2 bars at the top. But watch me first. I've got a little trick that I do. So I draw the first line up, the first stem, and then on the fourth note at the end, I draw that stem all the way up, the same length as the first one, and then I connect those 2. See, those are connected. Then what I do is, the inside 16th notes, I draw a line up, and then I draw a line up on the other one. Okay, see? And I connect them to that top first line. Now, currently, these look like 8th notes, and they would be because there's only 1 bar at the top. But we have to put a second one, so I'm just going to draw a second one underneath the first one all the way across. And then we get 4 16th notes, like that. So that's what yours should look like. Go ahead and do that if you haven't already. All right, and they're called 16th notes. And I'm going to go ahead, while I've got it up here, I'm going to go ahead and spell it out. S-I-X-T-E-E, 2 E's, N-T-H, 16th. And then you put notes because you have 4 of them, okay? So there it is. Make sure you wrote that in yourself. Okay, and if you remember, we used the color terracotta because we had to have a color that had 4 syllables for our 4 notes. All right, I'm going to say it first. Terracotta. Your turn, go. Okay, great. I hope you did well drawing all these music notes and labeling them. If you didn't quite finish, this is your time to pause the video right here, because here they are. Pause the video and get it all down. All right, great job with this part of our lesson.